everyone, you're watching UzReport World News and my name is Davron Jumayev. The Uzbek government is intending to carry out 226 major projects and raise some $7.5 billion worth foreign direct investments to deal with the economic uncertainties in 2021. Challenges in the field of investment and foreign trade in the forthcoming year were under scrutiny at a regular meeting chaired by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on Wednesday.
Mirziyoyev urged to take specific, targeted measures to attract investments, ensure forecast export indicators, and ramp up the production of import-substituting products. He set the task to implement 69 new promising industrial projects, thereby creating additional reserves for economic growth. Special attention is set to be paid to the chemical industry, energy, geology, electrical engineering, and light industry as these areas are considered as the main driver of economy. The volume of exports in 2021 is expected to reach $17 billion. With this in mind, the responsible persons were introduced to conclude export contracts in advance and to establish a system of pre-export financing at the expense of the Export Support Fund from January 1st.
Uzbekistan has ordered 2 million doses of vaccines through the Global COVAX initiative. Deputy Head of the Century Epidemiological Welfare and Public Health Service Nurmat Atabekov said on Wednesday. According to Atabekov, Uzbekistan applied for the membership in COVAX Global Alliance for Vaccines. The application was accepted. As soon as a vaccine for coronavirus infection approved by the World Health Organization is available, Uzbekistan will receive it one of the first, Atabekov said. It is tentatively planned that the vaccine, which will be delivered to Uzbekistan through COVAX, will first be used to vaccinate people over the age of 65, as well as medical workers, school teachers, and kindergarten teachers. These categories were chosen because they are at risk. Prime Minister of Pakistan Imran Khan is going to sign a letter which is already signed by the President of Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, seeking $4.8 billion loan from the World Bank for a railway line project connecting Pakistan with Afghanistan, Uzbekistan and other Central Asian states. According to Pakistan Railways officials, the Premier will sign the letter during the visit of the Deputy Prime Minister of Uzbekistan next week, saying once the joint appeal letter is signed, it will be sent to the President of World Bank for final approval. The project is expected to help complete 573 kilometers long railway track, which will connect Peshawar to Kabul and Mazar-e Sharif and all the way to Uzbekistan. The Ministry of Water Resources, Uzbek Hydro Energy, in collaboration with the Academy of Sciences and the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Uzbekistan, will implement a system of continuous instrumental seismological observation from March 1st, 2021.
The system is deemed to be an integral part of the comprehensive system of state monitoring of nature. It includes the systematic accumulation, processing and analysis of data on factors affecting the seismic state of reservoirs, as well as an assessment of changes in the seismic regime during the collection and release of water and during the operation of the dam. The observation will collect information of earthquakes of varying intensity on the state of reservoirs, coastal slopes, bases and water channels. Based on the data collected, experts will study the dynamic properties of reservoir dams and assess their stress-strain states.
The Asian Development Bank and Nur Navoei Solar Foreign Enterprise Limited Liability Company signed loans for a solar power plant that will play a catalytic role in improving access to affordable and reliable renewable energy in rural parts of Uzbekistan.
The plant will be constructed and operated by the Nur Navoei Solar Foreign Enterprise, a limited liability company owned by Masdar, a renewable energy company of the United Arab Emirates. The ADB and the project company signed loans of up to $17.5 million for a 100-megawatt solar power plant that will be the first public-private partnership renewable energy project in Uzbekistan. The project will generate around 258.2 gigawatt-hours of clean energy annually. In October 2019, Masdar won Uzbekistan's first competitively tendered solar power public-private partnership, which was structured with IFC's advisory support under the WBG Scaling Solar Program, a one-stop shop that helps governments rapidly bring online privately funded solar projects at competitive tariffs. Uzbekistan was the first state outside of Africa to join the program.
Uzbekistan's Chamber of Commerce and Industry summed up the outgoing year and outlined plans for the coming year at a meeting on Wednesday. The event saw the chairman of the chamber, officials, and entrepreneurs.
Despite the pandemic, around 92,000 businesses have been created in the country in 2020. More than 60,000 small enterprises affected by the complications of the pandemic were exempted from the property and land taxes. 21,000 entrepreneurs were freed from taxes and fines for unused facilities. The social tax rate was reduced from 12% to 1% for 329,000 small enterprises. The chamber also announced the launch of an initiative to support youth by teaching them professional skills, folk crafts, and attracting them to entrepreneurial activities with further employment.
Uzbekistan has built an infectious diseases hospital in the Batkent region of Kyrgyzstan. The new infirmary, designed for COVID-19 patients, can easily treat 200 patients at a time, the press service of the Ministry of Health of Uzbekistan cites.
The construction of the hospital was funded by Uzbek side, providing full medical equipment. The Minister of Health of Kyrgyzstan, Alimkadir Beyshinaliyev, thanked Uzbek counterparts for their complete support in the construction and humanitarian aid at the opening of the medical facility. In November this year, Uzbekistan has already sent 80 mobile medical containers with 400 beds to Kyrgyzstan for coronavirus patients treatment, along with 3,000 tons of wheat, equipment and medicine.
Uzbekistan has directed a $51 million loan on 17,000 artisan projects in 2020. The Association of Craftsmen announced these figures at a press conference dedicated to the year-end review.
In accordance with the presidential decree, a catalog of national craftsmen has been formed. The catalog presents national craft masters of Uzbekistan that includes 360 of the most advanced ones working in folk art. A separate council formed under the chairmanship of the association runs according to the charter. This year, a new embroidery design center in the Nurota district of the Navai region has employed 45 local women. It's also envisaged to set up 6 small handicraft centers in the Shahrikhan, Katakurgan, Uchtepa, Yangarik districts and one in the city of Shahrisaps. Those interested in joining the association should submit their documents in any 192 branches of the region and city across the country. After a thorough study by the Art Council the work of an artisan, the council will issue him a pass at the Agency of State Services. If a craftsman is still unemployed, the registration is provided free of charge. There are a number of benefits for members of the association. For instance, they are exempt from income taxes, and retired artisans are exempt from paying the insurance premium. They also have privileges in getting loans. In 2020, we have opened more than 10 handicraft centers across the country. For example, centers for handicrafts and ceramics in the Fergana region. It's also planned to establish 30 more in other regions. Today, there are more than 59,000 members in the association, and more than 360 of them are in the national catalogue.
Uzbekistan's auto giant Uz Auto Motors has officially received a certificate of quality standards BIQ4. The company aims to obtaining the highest quality level BIQ next in the coming years. The Chevrolet dealer network intends to switch to new standards. The changes will concern the re-registration of dealerships in accordance with the new Chevrolet brand book, which is a prerequisite for the continuation of work.
1 week into the massive U.S. inoculation campaign, and millions of COVID-19 vaccines sit unused in hospitals and elsewhere, putting the government's target of 20 million vaccinations by the end of the month in doubt. As of Wednesday morning, just 1 million shots of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine had been given. That was only about 1/3 of what was first shipped out last week. Over 9.5 million doses of both vaccines, including Moderna's, have now been sent to states, according to the CDC. Hospitals attributed the slow start to preparation of the shots, finding employees to run vaccination clinics, and ensuring proper social distancing before and after vaccinations. The CDC says the low vaccination numbers may simply reflect a lag between vaccination dosing and state reporting. General Gustav Perna, who heads the Trump administration's Operation Warp Speed, echoed that sentiment on Wednesday.
As Dr. Slawi mentioned earlier, there's a lag in the information as it's collected from all the really thousands of administration sites. And we know that there's probably at least 72 to 96 hour lag in the information uptake.
The Trump administration promised to vaccinate 20 million Americans by the end of the year, while providing little funding to achieve that goal. That gives them just 9 days to administer nearly 19 million doses, which means vaccinating more than 2 million people a day, including on Christmas.
China launched an investigation into the country's biggest tech company, Alibaba, on Thursday for suspected monopolistic behavior. It's the latest blow for company co-founder Jack Ma's e-commerce and fintech empire, and part of a wider, accelerating crackdown by Beijing on its booming tech industry. According to officials, China's financial regulators will meet with both Alibaba and its affiliate Ant Group in the coming days to discuss an alleged practice that in China is called choosing one from two. The practice requires merchants to sign exclusive cooperation pacts, preventing them from offering products on rival platforms. The People's Bank of China on Thursday said that the meeting is to, quote, guide Ant Group to implement financial supervision, fair competition, and protect the legitimate rights and interests of consumers. Ant said it had received a notice from regulators and would comply with all regulatory requirements. Alibaba said it would cooperate with the investigation and that its operations remained normal. In a strongly worded editorial, the ruling Communist Party's People's Daily said that if, quote, monopoly is tolerated and companies are allowed to expand in a disorderly and barbarian manner, the industry won't develop in a healthy way. Last month, Chinese regulators suspended Ant's planned $37 billion initial public offering at the last minute. The IPO had been on track to be the world's largest. China's internet sector has benefited from the government's support for innovation, but state regulators have said that the industry must abide by rules and laws.
Not the Christmas dinner they had in mind. Many of these truck drivers say they'll never make it home in time for the holidays. The European Union executive threw Britain a lifeline on Tuesday after it became stranded in COVID-19 isolation, recommending that EU members roll back sweeping border closures to allow freight to resume and let people return home for Christmas. Much of the world has cut off travel ties with Britain due to a highly infectious new coronavirus strain. Britain has been trying for at least 24 hours to hash out a deal with France to allow the Dover-Calais route to open. Ministers say mass testing the hundreds of truck drivers stranded on the motorway is one option.
3 days I've been here, stopped. They don't give us solutions. They don't give us food. They don't give us drinks. They don't give us sanitation. They don't offer us anything. The situation is basically inhumane. So what we are asking for is a solution, something, that they keep us informed, that they tell us, that they help us.
The mutated variant of the novel coronavirus could be up to 70% more transmissible. It's spreading rapidly across Britain. But the government says it's been identified because British scientists are so efficient at detection. Cases of the new strain have been found in some other countries, including Denmark and Italy. It's hoped there will be a deal to restart freight by Wednesday, just days before Britain hopes to strike another deal on trade as Brexit looms.
Wrapped up in Red Cross blankets, Spanish Coast Guards transported 49 migrants rescued in the Atlantic Ocean to Aguineguin port on Gran Canaria on Wednesday. Interior Ministry figures show more than 21,400 migrants have arrived in Gran Canaria by sea through the end of December, an 8-fold increase compared to the same time last year. The large rise in arrivals has posed a logistical challenge for authorities in the Canary Islands, who have had to find alternative reception centres as existing centres filled up and thousands were forced to live in tents in conditions that an immigration judge called inhumane and degrading. It wasn't until November 18 that migrants stranded on the port were transferred to a military camp in Las Palmas. They remain there for a maximum of 72 hours and are then transferred to different reception centres, hotels and other accommodation. Arrivals of migrants in the Canary Islands have increased in 2020 as they looked for alternative routes due to increased patrolling off the Mediterranean coast of southern Spain.
Is this the future of farming? It's all electric, autonomous, and can help boost sustainability in agriculture. It's a smart tractor, developed by California-based firm Monarch Tractor.
Monarch Tractor is the bridge between sustainability and very profitable farm economics. And farmers should not be in a position where they have to choose between one of those two. We believe that it is possible to have both, and our tractor allows farmers to have the best of both worlds.
The Monarch Tractor is cleaner than existing machines. It's able to work for 10 hours on just a 4 to 5 hour charge, significantly reducing farm emissions as it goes. It's smart too. Using 8 onboard cameras and sensors to monitor a 360-degree view of its surroundings, the tractor is able to collect up to 240 gigabytes of data in a day. That data is stored in the tractor's cloud system, and artificial intelligence does the rest, according to CEO and co-founder Praveen Penmetsa.
Our AI platform takes all this data and then not only provides insights to the farmer, but also controls the tractor platform and the operation that the tractor is doing. So for example, if the tractor is going down a row, we can remove the driver from this spraying operation, and while we are spraying, our AI can detect what the plant is doing, what the condition of the plant is, but also what the weather conditions are, and based on that make real-time adjustments on the spraying side to decrease the number of chemicals used and also to maximize the yield for the farmer.
Monarch Tractor has a starting price of $50,000. The company says it's currently targeting vineyards, fruit and nut orchards, and even dairy and solar farms, but not larger agriculture products like corn, soy and cotton. But does the technology threaten farmers' jobs? The developers say their autonomous AI machines allow existing farm workers to focus on other jobs, such as improving the quality of produce rather than operating machinery. Monarch Tractor is one of the latest companies trying to make farming greener and more profitable. Japanese company Kubota and US heavyweight equipment firm John Deere recently announced autonomous and sustainable tractors, but both are still just concepts.
A warehouse piled high with kitchenware near Tokyo is a graveyard showing the toll the global health crisis took on the city's restaurants in 2020. Stacks of old sinks, fridges, pots, pans and chairs are all being refurbished and sold on by Tempest Busters, a second-hand kitchen supplier. For them it has been a bumper year. Takehito Toyama, the firm's sales director, says they've bought double the amount of goods.
In normal years, our warehouse doesn't get full or overflow with products. But because of the rising number of businesses or restaurants closing due to the coronavirus, our warehouse is overflowing.
Between February and mid-December this year, around 126 restaurants and bars have gone bust in Japan. One of those forced to close was the ramen noodle shop, Shirahachi, in Tokyo's business district. Yashiro Haga, its owner, got $165 selling his old kitchenware to Tempest Busters.
I've been slowly cleaning the shop by myself every day. Now that my stuff is gone, the shop is bare and empty. It makes me sad.
Yashiro's premises is small, so social distancing and profits proved incompatible. Combine that with people encouraged to work from home, and his business of 15 years became unfeasible.
It was an emotional moment as nurse Merlin Pambuan was applauded by coworkers as she made her exit this week after 8 months of being treated for COVID-19 at St. Mary Medical Center, the Long Beach, California hospital where she has worked for the past 40 years. Pambuan was brought to tears as she hugged the doctor and other healthcare workers who helped bring her back from a harrowing situation.
I'm thankful. This is my second life.
In a tragic role reversal, Pambuan, a veteran intensive care unit nurse who had been caring for COVID patients, was admitted to St. Mary's ICU in the spring. The 66-year-old was rendered unconscious by paralysis-inducing sedation and placed on a ventilator to breathe. A feeding tube was later inserted. Her situation was often dire, said attending physician Dr. Maged Tanios.
At multiple times, she was very near death. I would say this happened at least half a dozen times that she was very near death. We had a hard time keeping her oxygen compatible with life, and we had to use a lot of other treatment that improve her oxygen.
By the time she awoke and could breathe on her own again, Pambuan was too weak to stand, but fought back and struggled through weeks of painful therapy to regain her strength. Now Pambuan is finally home, where she will continue her recuperation.
I thought I'm not going to come back in this house for what's going on, but it's really nice to be home. And thanks God for everything.
When or if she will return to work in the ICU remains an open question. But in the meantime, Pambuan said she feels indebted to her co-workers for their care. Her message to others in her shoes?
Don't lose hope. Just fight. Fight. Because look at me. I'm going home and I'm walking.
Amazon is about to face a challenge from an old foe, US unions. Energized by recent protests, they're campaigning to persuade Amazon workers to sign up, and an early test will come at one warehouse in Bessemer, Alabama. Workers there will vote on whether to unionize early next year. It's the first such poll Amazon has faced since 2014, and a yes vote would be the first ever at one of its US facilities. Amazon has told workers it already offers all the pay and benefits the unions promise. It's trained managers to spot signs of organising activity. The online giant's experience in France shows what it wants to avoid. Strong unions there drove a month-long closure of warehouses this year in protest at working conditions. Amazon workers have also been staging walkouts at subsidiary Whole Foods. Some allege that the company has failed to keep workers safe during this year's health crisis. Now a group called Whole Worker is looking to unionize staff at the grocery chain. Unions in Seattle are also meeting Amazon tech workers. One is helping whistleblowers fired by the company to contest their termination. Labour organisations hope a new administration will help, not least by supporting the Protecting the Right to Organise Act. The bill passed by the US House in February would penalise firms that hinder organising. But it faces a battle to get through the Senate. Tesla could have been part of Apple by now. Founder Elon Musk says he once tried to sell his car firm to the Silicon Valley giant, and it could have been a bargain, with an asking price a tenth of its current value. But he says Apple chief Tim Cook refused to take a meeting. Musk claims the attempted sale came during the darkest days of the firm's Model 3 development. Back in 2017 and 2018, Tesla was struggling to ramp up output of the mid-priced sedan. At the time, Musk said it was in production hell. However, Tesla overcame the troubles and has since racked up a series of quarterly profits. On Monday, it joined the S&P 500, becoming one of the most valuable companies in the benchmark stock index. There was no comment on Musk's claims from Apple, but if true, the iPhone maker might now be rueing its decision. Reuters this week reported that it's looking to produce an electric vehicle by 2024 using a new battery technology. Buying Tesla might have been a cheaper way to do it. Musk has also cast doubt on claims made about Apple's new batteries. In a tweet, he says the so-called monocell system wouldn't be able to produce anywhere near enough power.
Investors shrugged off mixed economic data and President Donald Trump's threat to veto a pandemic relief bill, driving stocks higher Wednesday. They rotated away from tech stocks and into economically sensitive sectors such as energy and financials. The Dow rose less than 0.5%. The S&P 500 barely eked out a gain, but the Nasdaq fell more than 0.25%. Investors chose to look beyond the flood of economic data out Wednesday that showed drops in consumer spending, personal income, new home sales, and jobless claims. Barrett Capital Management's Chief Investment Officer Amy Kong says investors are betting on government policies and vaccine distribution to lift the economy.
This is the time of this pandemic, 9-10 months out, where fiscal policy, monetary policy, and now a healthcare solution they're all aligned. And I think that really does make up a pretty good setup in terms of why investors are still pushing equities forward.
Back on Wall Street, Pfizer shares rose. The U.S. government will buy an additional 100 million doses of its COVID-19 vaccine. Shares of Merck also gained ground after the drug maker said it will supply up to 100,000 doses of its coronavirus treatment to the U.S. government. Shares of American Airlines and United flew higher. The carriers outlined plans to bring back furloughed employees this month. But Nikola's shares plunged more than 10%. The electric truck maker called off its deal to develop electric garbage trucks with recycling firm Republic Services.
These were the top headlines for today. Stay safe and goodbye.